o'clock, and speaking of jailhouses, Lifford Old Courthouse is celebrating 30 years in business. It's one of Donegal's most historic buildings, and these days it's a multi-purpose visitor centre, and they offer guided jail tours, and there's escape rooms there, and there's also musical performances, concerts, and there's even a bistro there, which is open daily. Gillian Graham is the manager, and Gillian joins us now. Good afternoon, Gillian.
Hey, John.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Let's talk a wee bit, I suppose, first about the history, because it goes back to it was built in 1746.
Yes, 1746. Courthouse, and it was the county jail at that time as well, before there was another jail built later on. So there was inmates held there.
Okay.
And it later became the lunatic asylum as well. So
all right.
Very grim circumstances for people to be held.
So back when it was built, what sort of cases would be heard there? Would it be from the small to the big, or was it a certain type?
Yes, a mixture of everything. Yes, from stealing a coat up to murder, manslaughter. There seems to be a lot of killing and maiming cattle and sheep stealing
But offences like that were almost as serious as murder back then.
Yes, that's right. There's
similar sentences.
Yes, very similar. Where for stealing you could have been transported to Australia for 7 years.
Or you could have been hanged.
You could have been, yes.
And there was public hangings there as well.
There was, yes.
It's really grim, isn't it?
It was very grim, yeah.
And that's just for stealing a few cattle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's pretty harsh.
Yeah, tough law.
Yeah, and so when did the public executions finish? It was the middle of the 18th century, thereabouts? I don't think it didn't go into the 19th anyhow. They wouldn't have been public.
I can't actually remember the date of the last public hanging. You've caught me now.
Well, I saw it here in my notes somewhere or other. I think it was around the mid part of the 19th century. But anyhow, the courthouse itself, it continued to hold trials right up until 1938. So.
That's right, yes. And then Donegal County Council used certain parts of it. The land registry offices were still there until 1996, and the circuit court offices, and there was a library. But the building did start to fall into disrepair.
Yeah.
At one point, the roof of the courtroom was being held up by telegraph poles, and there was birds in there and rats. And
having said that, when you walk in, you do get a sense of the history and, in a way, the majesty of the place. But a great job has been done, because it feels very modern. You can't escape the history of the place, and it feels very modern. Well, it doesn't until you go downstairs.
Yes, the cells are as they were.
It feels very old and very cold.
Exactly. Yes, they have been left authentic.
Yeah.
the whitewash on the walls and the stone floors, and yeah, they're quite grim.
And the bars on the doors and the windows. And it's great now, because you do tours of the cells, and there's different options. You can take groups or individuals, or self-guided tours. That's
right, yes. And we've just got audio guides this year, because some people don't want to have a guide, so that option is there as well. But we do a great guided tour. The guides are great, and they really bring the history to life.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Really, so they delve into what some of the characters, like Half-Hung McNaughton, he's one of the...
He's always the favourite story.
Oh,
yeah. And Napper Tandy, and then, the youngest child, John Breen, was 7, and he was sentenced to 6 months for stealing a coat. So they talk about all those cases that actually happened there, and you get fingerprinted, and you can taste the prison diet. You can have a shot of buttermilk.
Lovely. Buttermilk. Again, it's the modern palate mightn't lend itself too well to buttermilk, but some people love it. even if it was supposedly part of the regime back then.
Yeah,
you got buttermilk and whatever
porridge.
Yeah. If you were lucky. Anyhow, so it was renovated and opened as a business then 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Some of the work, I think, started in the 80s. I think it was re-roofed in the 80s. And then in 92, there was International Fund for Ireland funding announced for, it was a regeneration package for Lifford. The courthouse was renovated, and the Victorian buildings beside them, and I think a car park. So it was, quite a big package for Lifford at that time. And yeah, the courthouse opened then as a visitor centre in '94. And so it has continued to develop, and there's been further refurbishments. I suppose it's the nature of the building. It's so old, it's a protected structure. There's just constant work being done. And there was one wing of the building that wasn't renovated back in the 90s. So one floor of that was renovated in 2008. And then the last floor was renovated in 2017. So that fully brought the whole building back into use then in 2018.
Well, I got the impression that it's very much sort of an upstairs, downstairs, that when you go down, it is still all very authentic and very cold, and you realise how eerie it would have been to be locked up. Imagine a 7-year-old being locked up for 6 months in the place.
Yeah, really.
I struggled with one night.
And you had a bed.
And absolutely, yeah. But it's Mickey hard for company, so come on. And it was, from that part of it and the gloomy history to upstairs where it's now a nice bistro and a performance area.
Yes, that's right. So once or twice a month we transform the restaurant into a venue for concerts. So a lot of work goes into that, as you can imagine. We have a great team. And we can seat up to 170 for a concert. We have the floor and the gallery as well, which those are the favourite seats.
Yeah.
And it's great.
And it's a nice area. It's a nice room for performances.
It is. The acoustics, the musicians all say the acoustics are great, and it's lovely with the big windows at night as well. So yeah, it's just a nice space.
And is it, with the bistro open during the day, is it a place that people can get a room if they want to have a small function or something?
Yes, we have two, as well as the restaurant, we have 2 meeting rooms, and so those rooms are used for private parties or for meetings. With local community groups would come in and use them for meetings, or we have yoga and dressmaking. So yeah, a whole range of activities.
Okay, and what's the feedback then after somebody? Before we go back to the tours, I suppose it's important to mention that you have an escape room experience, which is fascinating. Now, I find it really difficult, but then again, I'm fairly slow on the uptake. But the clues, you need to be switched on.
Oh yes,
and it's better to have a group so people to bounce off.
It is, yeah. I think if you have 3 or 4 people, you have a couple of different minds working on it. They're designed to be really tricky, and you have to be really thinking outside the box.
Because we had somebody popping their head in every so often going, you need to think that they're blah, blah, blah. And they're going, oh, yeah, all right, enough, yeah. And then you get the clue and you'd move on until you get stuck again 5 minutes later. And then miraculously, you'd appear at the cell door. You haven't considered that. Oh, you're right, we haven't. But, unless you're really stuck, nobody like that will appear.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to.
Well, they're there to keep an eye, to make sure you're not really, really struggling. But there's some people some real escape room enthusiasts who just fly, it's amazing. And then we have to go down when we do a new escape room every year. And so some of us in the staff go down where the guinea pigs to try it out. So tearing your hair out.
It's changed every year.
Yes, we change it every year. And then, because we get a lot of repeat, we get a lot of schools coming every year. We do a Halloween version as well in October. So yeah, it's just, you have to keep things fresh and keep thinking.
It's a great idea for a family because, phones are away. There's no point taking out the phone to try to Google something. Probably down there you wouldn't get a reception anyhow.
No.
But it's of no help whatsoever to you. You've got to try to figure it out yourselves.
That's
so
right.
It's a great way of pulling a group together.
Yeah, it is.
And then the tours, after the tours, what's the feedback? What do they say? Is it the characters that come to life that make the tours? Or what is it?
And some people just like the experience of being in the cells as well. Although it does freak some people out.
They know they're getting out.
They're getting out again. It's only for an hour. And the history. A lot of people mention the tour guides and the amount of information they have and just how interesting they make it. So yeah.
Good. And for the concerts, the performances, what sort of acts are lined up for the rest of the summer into the autumn?
Yeah, so starting now in August, we have Porrig Jack, who's from the Aran Islands in Galway. He's the 16th. And then we have Alton, Donegal's own. So we're really delighted there on the 17th of August. And then we have Darren Doherty in September, a singer-songwriter from Strabane, and Proud Mary, Tina Turner tribute.
Good variety.
Yeah, we have a great variety. Yeah, right up until November. And then we have Murder Mystery Nights in December with Lifford Players Drama Group. So this is the second year
it's somehow very fitting for a Murder Mystery Night.
It is
Great
very
location.
good. Yeah.
Okay, then let's play out with some Alton. And listen, continued success, 30 years and counting. And if anybody's interested in any of the tours or any of the concerts or whatever, just you're on social media. I see the website here, and also just maybe give you a buzz.
Okay. And could I just say, before I go, a big congratulations to our events manager, Darren, and his partner, Natalie, who had a son the early hours of this morning.
Brilliant.
So we're all delighted.
Wow. Congratulations. Okay, that is brilliant. Okay, Gillian, thank you.
Thanks, John.